Chapter 6. Jenna's rounded eyes were locked onto Grayson's, her hand still caught in his. "Stunned into silence, Ms. Newman?" Grayson taunted. She nodded. Dropping her hand, he turned his back on her. He had to get away from her. He was either going to toss her out the front door on her lovely ass, or he was going to kiss her on her surprised lips. Neither were options. Damn women. Damn her.
"How dare you!"
Jenna yelled. Grayson returned to her in 2 strides, glaring. "How dare I?" He had to shove his hands in his pockets to keep from grabbing her shoulders and shaking her. Or kissing her. Again, neither were options. Why in the world he'd even have a single thought about kissing her was beyond him.
"You could have cleared up the confusion right away had you wanted to. Instead, you teased me along laughing at my mistakes."
"I can guarantee I wasn't laughing at your mistakes," he retorted. "You've been an annoying thorn since you arrived. Why should I correct your assumptions? You were far too quick to judge. I have no tolerance for those who judge without first getting the facts."
"Facts? You never gave me any facts. You've been dodging me since I arrived."
"I don't dodge," he said flatly. "The facts have been under your nose this entire time. We are the only 2 people here. You already know where I shower. How many times can the obvious be placed under your nose for you to accept it as reality? Be honest, Jenna. You thought I looked like a gardener, and so you never considered the possibility I could be your boss? It makes me wonder what your made-up version of Mr. Miller looks like." He could feel the anger coming off her in tidal waves. It matched his. "Nothing to say?" he clipped.
"I quit."
She said, her voice edged with steel.
"I'll be gone in the morning."
"I'll expect a letter of resignation before you go," he stated, and strode into the house, leaving her behind.
Jenna was in a mix of tears, half laughing at her own stupidity, yet feeling like someone had pounded her in the stomach. What a complete blunder. She wouldn't blame herself entirely, however. Grayson could have stopped her with one commanding word. He seemed quite capable of delivering commanding words just now. But she did own a large portion of the blame. If she hadn't been so nervous and impatient to meet Mr. Miller, she would have seen what she had so obviously missed. Even when he was covered in dirt, he still had a presence about him, and his eyes. God, they were molten steel when he glared at her. She had learned her lesson. It was a hard one, but one she'd never forget, nor repeat. Wiping the tears from her eyes, Jenna treaded softly through the house, hoping she wouldn't run into Grayson. She'd lock herself in her room for the night and leave at first light. Going where, she had no idea. She couldn't go back. It wasn't safe. Jenna stood in the entryway, soaking it in for the last time. She had felt safe here. For the first time in a long time, she felt safe. It was a new record, a total of 2 days. As she moved to the staircase, she noticed the study door was cracked open. She stepped over and peeked in, hoping Grayson wasn't in there. He wasn't. She opened the door wider and stepped in. Even on her first day, she had known this was Grayson's territory. Same with his bedroom. She would have liked to have met the fantasy Grayson Miller. Instead, she met a man who had no business being him. It was almost cruel. There was that scent again. It wasn't as if it was cologne or an overpowering smell. It was like his essence. Never in all her years had she ever picked up on a man's scent. Sure, there were a few tear-inducing aftershaves, but this was different. Natural. Him. She quickly escaped from the study and hurried up the stairs to her room. Locking it behind her, she slumped against the door. Jenna slipped out of the mansion at pre-dawn with her few bags. Even the birds were still asleep. She hurried over to the garage, hoping to leave before Grayson was the wiser. A confrontation was to be avoided at all costs. She knew it was a coward's move, but what else was there to say or do? No, she would leave and pretend this never happened. Too bad last night's conversation kept replaying in her head. Unfortunately, it wasn't just last night's conversation. The entire 2 days replayed continuously, reminding her of how idiotic she was. He was right. She shouldn't have assumed, and she should have corrected her error immediately. Too late now. Jenna stopped at the side garage door to open it. She placed a bag on the ground to free one of her hands. Gripping the knob, she twisted. Oh no. Jenna stared at the locked door. She gave the knob a jiggle, hoping it was only stuck. Luck was not on her side. Leaving her bags at the door, she jogged around the garage, searching for a way inside. The door remote Grayson had given her was in her car where she had left it. She never assumed she'd need it while she wasn't inside the car. As far as she knew, Grayson left the side garage door unlocked all the time. Each of the 5 garage doors had a key panel installed on the doorframe. They were useless to her since she didn't have the code.
Are you lost, Ms. Newman?
Jenna jumped at the sound of Grayson's voice. She whipped around, expecting to find him behind her.
Up here.
He called lazily. Jenna searched for the voice and finally found Grayson leaning out of a window on the 2nd floor, without a shirt. Maybe without anything. She could only see from his waist up. Not that she was looking. It was just rather hard not to notice something like that. The door is locked. Jenna tried to keep her gaze on his eyes and not his well-defined chest and arms. If you'd be kind enough to give me the code to the door, I'll leave right away. Grayson rubbed the sleep out of his eyes and looked down at her and her luggage.
I assumed you already knew the code. You seem to know everything else.
Well, I don't know the code. If you tell me, I'll be out of your hair.
No.
What? Did he just tell her no? She huffed and threw her shoulders back. Before she could reply, Grayson said,
I'm going back to sleep. I suggest we continue this conversation when the sun actually rises.
He shut the window and strolled out of view. Jenna stood in the driveway, fuming. How dare he trap her here? He didn't want her around, so why would he purposely keep her here unless he was taunting her? Was this his way of getting even? The great Mr. Grayson Miller. Ugh, he was no better than any other man with millions at his disposal. Experience, not money, made a man. He was not the man she had originally assumed he was. There was that word again, assumed. An ashy taste filled her mouth. Yes, she had assumed, and she was very, very wrong. She now saw him for what he truly was. Jenna gritted her teeth and stormed into the mansion.
Grayson was just getting comfortable in bed when his door burst open. Ah, Jenna. When he had shut the window on Jenna, he'd tried his hardest not to laugh at the way her mouth opened, ready to scold and yet too tongue-tied to get the words out. Not that he had given her much time to give him a lashing. It was too damn early. He wasn't surprised she invaded his room, but he had hoped to get another hour of sleep. Last night, sleep hadn't come easily. A prickle of guilt jolted him awake every time he was in sleep's grasp. The truth was, Grayson did feel guilty. He knew he could have taken the high road and settled the matter the moment she had dismissed him as the gardener. But he hadn't. Grayson had no intention of letting her quit because of their heated conversation. If she wanted to quit, it'd be for a different reason. So, in the middle of the night, he had locked the garage, knowing she'd try to sneak off early.
How dare you trap me here?
Jenna squawked, stomping over to his bed. Grayson yawned and blinked up at her. You're not going to let me sleep, are you? Jenna stalled a few feet from his bed, looking extremely uncomfortable, but too angry to leave.
Give me the code and you can sleep all you want.
I requested one thing from you, and I'm still waiting. Until I receive it, I have no intention of doing anything except sleep for another hour. Jenna's mouth swung open, and Grayson had an urge to reach over and close it. Instead, he scrunched his pillow until it was a cozy nest for his head. If he had to argue with Jenna at this ungodly hour, at least he could be comfortable. It was odd, he thought. When he was a CEO, he had worked around the clock without complaint. Early mornings and late evenings were a daily requirement. A force propelled him forward at a fast and deadly pace. Now, he wanted to relax, sleep, and muck around in his garden, and torment Jenna. He'd never had a hobby before, gardening aside. Hobbies were supposed to be fun, challenging, and something to look forward to. Jenna wasn't always fun. But she was challenging, and, if he admitted to it, He looked forward to their arguments. In fact, she was yelling at him right now, and he was content to let her. But did she have to be so loud about it? He silently groaned. He'd have to be insane to want to keep her around just to argue. He must miss negotiations. It was the only explanation. That, and he was never level-headed when under the bed covers. If only there was a warm, soft body next to him.
Mr. Miller,
Jenna asked tersely. Grayson glanced over at the sound of his name. The vision that he was happily enjoying withered. Ms. Newman, I requested a letter of resignation, and I have yet to receive it. Until I do, consider this conversation over. With that, he turned his back and arranged the pillow again. Jenna let out a strangled huff and stomped out of the room, slamming the door on her way out. Grayson smiled.